You're listening to The Voice of Reason with Mark Reed and Ted Durden, only on LA Talk Radio.
Good evening and welcome to another edition to The Voice of Reason. My name is Ted Durden and I'm a Southern Democrat.
And my name is Mark Reed, a West Coast Republican.
And together we are The Voice of Reason. For those of you tuning in for the very first time, this is a politically motivated podcast where civil discourse is the order of the day, where Mark and I believe there are more things that unite us than there are that divide us. And as I always do, after making that opening statement, I'll toss it to my co-host, Mark Reed.
Something that we're going to start doing is we're going to start doing a monologue at the beginning of the show. This is my week's monologue, and Ted's going to grace us with his monologue next week. Speaker Pelosi appears to be a very astute and disciplined and calculating politician. Prior to the election of Donald Trump, Pelosi probably was not seriously concerned about him since most expected Hillary Clinton to win easily. It appears, though, that a plan was hatched that was to falsely accuse President Trump of colluding with the Russians. These actions must have had substantial detrimental effects upon the Republicans in the 2018 midterm elections. Many must have found it extremely difficult to vote for a Republican candidate if they gave any credence to the lies that were being generated by the Democrat leadership, that the president really was a puppet of Putin.
Say that 3 times real fast.
Yeah, puppet of Putin, yep. Cutting to the chase, the Democrat hierarchy, Speaker Pelosi, has directed that articles of impeachment are to be drawn up and issued. But will she actually have a vote taken? We have a bet now.
Yes, we do.
She must and will make a considered calculation. What are the potential risks and rewards of taking or not taking a vote? If it wins, the impeachment effort will continue in the Senate where it will fail. It will fail. They'll stop it. People will be asking why the nation was put through this exercise in futility. But the goal of the Democrat leadership was to just muddy and bloody. Let me repeat that. They just wanted to muddy and bloody this president. And they have achieved it in creating a slight advantage for the Democrats. If the vote loses, the Democrats will suffer a monumental loss. If a vote were not taken, the damage of muddy and bloodying the president will have been done and would prevent the possible exculpatory evidence from being exposed during the trial in the Senate. Speaker Pelosi, after calculating the obvious, will tell the nation that she's come to the conclusion that the best for the nation would be to end this process now, since they have exposed all the corrupted actions by the president, and now the people will do the right thing in November of 2020. The only question that should be asked is how and when she will make her presentation. She will.
I don't agree.
The president and the Republicans should benefit if a vote were taken and passes. The Republicans will have the opportunity in the Senate to expose the misleading and false information presented during its near absolute control of the process in the House by the Democrats. The bottom line, what the hell is this all about? Come on, everybody watching these impeachment hearings is saying that. What the hell is this about? Is it about reversing the 2016 elections? No. Is it about impeaching and removing President Trump? No, it's not. Then what the hell is it about? It's about, in my honest opinion, respectful opinion of my co-host Democrat here, is the Democrats' leadership goal is strictly political power. It to enable them to win in the November 2020. And sadly, they have not really been too concerned about the collateral damage they have inflicted upon our nation and everybody living in it.
No, they haven't.
No. That's my monologue for this week. Now I'm going to get right to the meat and the subject of our episode tonight. Thank you for all tuning in. We have brought back Victoria. Your last name, Estrada. Victoria Estrada. Your last name eluded me for a minute. Yeah, I was talking about that stuff there with Pelosi and everything. It fries your brain. See, that's all it does. It just burns your brain out. Even if you watch the impeachment hearings, it burns your brain out. You're like, this is really stupid and boring.
This is your brains on Pelosi?
Yeah. Agreed.
And we have Sandee Everett back to talk about the sex, health, HIV prevention, and gender assignment curriculum that is coming down on our public schools in the state of California. Be prepared. Some of the graphics that we will be putting up on the show are pretty explicit, but mind you, these graphics are what are being shown to our children from kindergarten to 6th grade, and then an extensive course in 7th grade, and a refresher extensive course in 8th grade. Yeah. So again, Victoria, welcome back.
Thank you
to the show.
so much.
I'm
Thank
glad
you for having
glad to
us.
see you here. Welcome back,
Thank
Sandee.
you. Thank you.
Glad to be back.
I just want to say one thing real quick. The viewers watching this show tonight, you have to share this, because what I've learned from the last show and this one, what you're about to see is very graphic and very shocking. The materials that I've seen that you will also see is something that no minor child should see, especially at a school of education, a school of learning. The materials that are discussed here, I think, are out of line, and it's not consistent with what most parents believe that they will want their child to know during these formative years. That's just, I had to get that off my chest, okay?
Well, the subject matter, Ted, is what you're really saying, is the subject matter cuts across the political aisle, because our children are not Republicans or Democrats. Our children are our children, and we want to protect them. And this particular curriculum, I think, once exposed, once brought to the light, once you see some of these pictures that are actually being used in the curriculum, and some of the information that we will be bringing to you about off-campus information that they're directed to, you're really wondering what the hell is going on in our school system.
Really and truly.
And it's not Republican or Democrat. This is about human behavior. This is about emotions. This is about so much of the character of our community and of our families within the community. So let's bring up picture one for a moment here. It's going to give you just a moment. We promise you we're not. A bit about this gender unicorn.
Sure. So the gender unicorn is used to explain to children that gender is something you get to decide for yourself. It could be based on feelings, interests, who you're sexually attracted to. The unicorn, so I met a psychologist at the California School Board Association conference that I attended last week. He's actually been an expert witness in child abuse cases, very, very prominent child psychologist. And I didn't know this, but the unicorn is often used by the LGBT groups as a sexual symbol. So
it's used also as the third person in a menage a trois.
Yes.
For you that don't know that, it's three people in the same bed.
Yes, he told me that as well.
Well, here's what I think. I think it's even more insidious than that, in my opinion. And to me, I liken it to what tobacco companies do by seducing children, by using strawberry flavors and this sort of thing to seduce them. So when you look at a unicorn to a child is a magical creature.
Yeah,
it is something safe.
They believe in the unicorn until they're 5, 6 years old.
Right, and it's harmless. But in this situation, the way it's being used, I think it's harmful. I think
because
it is.
you read the stuff in here, it's talking about gender identity, whether you're a female or a woman, a male or a man or a boy or other gender. It's like, okay.
Right.
And you get into this is just shocking stuff to me. It really is, because this is information that's being given to our kids in kindergarten, first grade?
It can start as young as kindergarten. There's curriculum for that, and it goes through elementary school, and they may even use the gender unicorn in middle school. I don't know if they would use it in high school, but they use it to sort of give them the idea that your sex is assigned at birth, and that the kids get to decide their gender.
And those of you who've seen the picture, and if you didn't notice, that little crotch shot right there, that's a DNA symbol. That's what that is. It's not a piece of candy or anything like that. So in case
this-
you didn't know, if you look at it, because you're not really sure.
No, you're not really sure, and the
Right.
kids aren't really sure. So a lot of this is left up to the instructors of telling them certain things based on how they feel. So we still don't know. This is a curriculum. This is like a naked tree without leaves on it, and the administrators and the teachers get to put the leaves on the tree. So we don't know how colorful these teachers are going to be talking about this when the kid looks at the private area of a person and say, well, what's that? Well, that's your DNA. You're not a boy or a girl. We don't really know. People just assign it to you. So, but that is an indoctrination right at kindergarten, first grade,
Right.
second grade. Let's bring up graphic number 2. And this one, it's cute, Sparkle Boy. Now, don't get me wrong. I played with Barbie dolls with my sisters, so.
Yeah.
But I never thought I was a girl. I didn't have any questions about it. I was just playing with toys.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't put high heels on or anything like that. So this is a real interesting graphic. Tell us how they utilize this graphic in the curriculum.
So this is interesting, and this one and the one before kind of utilizes the idea that, well, young children are very easy. They like to imagine themselves as something else, like Superman or
Right.
princess and that kind of thing. So what this does, the book's called Sparkle Boy. There's a school district next to our school district, Oak Park School District, that is using this book. Originally, they were going to use it in second grade, but now they changed it to third grade. And this book basically is meant to introduce the children to the gender spectrum. And so they are using it as part of an anti-bullying program, but actually the gender spectrum is part of sex ed. It's one of the required elements of the sex ed in the California Healthy Youth Act. And so the Oak Park School District will not allow the parents to opt their children out of these teachings. So the school counselor goes and will read this book to the children. I watched a teacher using this book, and the teacher was explaining the book to the kids, and she was saying, what do you think this child is, a boy or a girl? And so the kids were like, it's a girl because she has on a skirt. And she said, well, is it a girl or is it a boy? Because look at the hair. And so she was trying to help them. The kids were very confused in this video.
Yeah, just
You can look
messing
it
their
up on
minds
YouTube.
up.
Yeah.
It's messing their minds up. And that's it. It's all part of a slow but sure indoctrination of the young mind.
Right.
Because they really don't know. They're not really thinking about this stuff. Because, I've always said, Ted and I have touched on racism. We've talked about it quite a bit. And in truth, when you're a little kid, did you really see white kids or black kids or Chinese kids or Mexican kids? And you just saw a buddy to play with, and that was it.
That's right.
So subjecting kids to their sexual identity, right, or gender identity, and because you're getting into sexual later, this is gender identity, whether you're a boy or a girl. So they're really messing with that of what are you, right? Because they know there's biological differences, so they know one's a boy and one's a girl just instinctually. So this is really messing them up because we get into I think the graphic is the same graphic, same picture, or it's picture number 2, where it shows 2 individuals sitting there. One looks like a husky guy and a woman pregnant. And it's when babies are born, people ask. And then the teachers go to the next one, and it says, is it a boy or is it a girl? And then the next picture that's shown to the kids is a child in the crib. It says, babies can't talk. So grown-ups make a guess by looking at their babies.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I knew exactly what the heck my kid was when it popped out.
You make a guess. You make a guess.
I think if the parent is making a guess,
Oh, my goodness.
they really shouldn't be parents.
Thank you.
right?
Exactly, right?
If you don't know if your
That's
kid,
just insane to me.
but this is but we're cracking up and laughing. But this is actually serious. It's
It
comical.
is.
But it's done, I think, specifically in such a light manner-hearted way to really mess kids' brains up.
Yes.
Because it's like, your parents really don't know what you are. They just took a lucky guess. Well, they had a 50-50 shot. You're a boy or a girl.
Yes.
They messed up because you might be a girl,
Right.
even though you
Make
think
a
you're a
guess.
boy. It's like, you get to pick, right?
Yes. Yes.
Is that kind of, Mike, you getting that accurate,
Yes,
Sandee and
that
Victoria?
is. And so this is the first time. So this is obviously written for very young children,
Right.
and they are introducing them to the idea that gender is a choice based on feelings, and they may even introduce the idea, well, did your parents paint your room a certain color? They were trying to say that you were a certain gender by that color, but the parents don't get to decide. You get to decide. Only the child, only the individual decides whether they are a boy, a girl, but it's not just a boy or a girl. It's both, neither, or anything in between.
Well, you
So-
can be non-binary too. Can't you be a boy at the beginning of the day and nothing in the middle of the
you
day?
can
Unicorn in
change.
the middle of the day and a girl at the end of the day?
You
Like
can
a frog?
change,
And you wake
yes.
up and you get to do it all over again.
Like a frog, right? Because there's a rare species of frog that can actually change
Oh,
its gender.
I
No, there-
really
there
haven't investigated the sexual identifications of frogs.
But this is just crazy. The whole non-binary thing is just beyond understanding to me. It's just crazy. You're either a boy or you're a girl.
Now,
That's
this
it.
part of the curriculum is still subjected to what age groups?
So this is recommended by the California Department of Education. It was originally in the framework. Parents got very upset about this because it was very, very clear and explicit that your parents just guessed.
Right.
And so they took it out of the framework, but they still recommend the book. They still say it's a good book. And I would venture a guess, and I think it's a pretty good guess, that if you go to your children's library or even some teachers' libraries in their classroom, they would find this book. So the kids could look at this book and check it out
Well, let
and
me ask
read
a
it.
question. Since it's not a mandated thing in the curriculum, but a suggested thing in the curriculum, can a teacher just bring this book in anyways
Yes.
and utilize it?
Yes. LAUSD, the district states that a teacher can bring in any supplementary
That's what
material.
I've read. Yes.
And a child in actually several children in a kindergarten class up in Northern California, the teacher actually did do what you are showing this, the
Sparkle boy.
Sparkle boy. She brought dresses for the boys, did a whole ceremony.
What?
And the boys went home with now a different idea because they had to wear dresses. And it wasn't an option. It was the teacher saying, see, you can be whatever you want.
This is part of her
Yes.
way of implementing
Yes.
that curriculum.
Yes. And now the
My
parents weren't
God.
aware because these children, they went home. Mom
I'll
said,
get you
how
the
was your
links
day? Oh, we had a ceremony. Ceremony? What kind of ceremony? Well, we all put on dresses. What? I mean,
we made your proud son a girl today.
that's right. So it's
we
happening.
had the ceremony and
Kindergarten.
all.
Well, and
Kindergarten.
Victoria's son, you said last time, came home from kindergarten and
Last
said,
year,
can
yeah.
I be a girl?
Yes. Is it okay if
So it's
boys
pretty young.
become girls and girls become boys? So, yeah.
Well, let me ask you a question. When you said this particular book, what book is this that you're making reference to?
It's called Who Are You?
Okay.
So you can look that up on Amazon. And they took it, like I said, they took it out of the framework, but it's still recommended. The California Department of Education clearly stated that all of these books are good books, but because there were so many parents that were upset, they decided to remove it from the framework, which the framework is still optional, but most teachers will use the books recommended in the framework, but it's still recommended, and the teachers know that. So if a teacher wants to use that, like Victoria said, they can, but the librarians can also put it in the libraries along with the next book that we're going to talk about. And the children can then find these books and just be introduced to the topics away from adults.
Man, this is insane.
It's hard to find words or questions, because
Yeah.
it's.
I'm trying really hard not to cuss. So,
Yeah,
but-
thank you.
Just
It's an
saying.
internet show. We try to keep it clean. Sam, if we can go to page 4, the book cover of It's Perfectly Normal. It should be the one up. Tell us about this book and what age group that they start bringing this into the curriculum.
So this is for ages 10 and up. This is a book that's supposed to introduce the kids to.
So 10 and up, and mind you, for everybody out there, don't do the quick math. That means you can be 9 to 11, but average is 10 years old.
So it would be
Fifth
about
grade.
fourth grade. Fourth grade.
Yes.
And the teacher will use this book, can use this book to help teach the sex education to the children. And it can be found in the library. If we go to the next picture, the inside of it
Picture number 5.
shows things. There's lots and lots of pictures. I just took a few out. This one is of a couple in bed engaging in sex. There's a big
And I-
focus.
but I asked you the question on this one because we were asking it in studio here. We were trying to figure out if that's a guy and a girl, two guys, two girls, and you're kind of coming out. The picture is done in such a way it's kind of non-binary. It's giving the approval and the ability of the imagination for transgenders, same-sex couples, and everything else at 10 years old, and it's okay because it's giving a picture that, like I said, it's non-binary. You don't see a long-haired girl, and you don't. It's non-binary. I'm stuck
Yes,
with words. This is just shocking stuff. to me.
It's true.
crazy.
If you look at, if I were to show other pages from this book, there are other pages that give a lineup of naked people, and then it shows their reproductive organs, but their reproductive organs don't match what traditionally would be a male or a female, and so they are introducing that into this book in other pages of the book, and so this could very well the kids could take that from it.
So,
that
so
this
what you're
is
trying to
too-
tell me, this is one of the cleaner pages of the book?
Well, there's two pages that have the sexual
Wow.
intercourse depicted. The other one, just shows the buttocks of the woman on top of the man. She's on top of the man in the other one. But yeah, the whole book pretty much has naked people in it.
Naked people, just showing different sexual
Yeah.
positions and so forth.
Yeah, and showing their reproductive organs and how that doesn't always look this. You would not.
Traditionally the same.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that someone who looks the way that some of them look in their face and in their hair is the way that their reproductive organs are.
I remember back when I was growing
Wow.
up as a kid that certain groups started going after the Ken and Barbie by saying that it was making guys think that they had to be this perfect looking guy with a nice haircut and muscular, and the girls had to be the perfect blonde with the perfect body. And, God just didn't make us that way.
Right.
And for those of you who don't believe in God, well, your mom and dad didn't make you that way. We're all different. Some of us are short, fat, stumpy. Some of us are long, slender, and skinny. Some of us look good, like me.
You.
I had to get a little humorous in there.
Right.
Sam, let's go to picture number 6. It's perfectly normal again. Tell us a little bit about
So again, this one is focusing on children's sexual pleasure. That's a big focus of the new sex ed curriculum that the CDE has recommended. That the masturbation is something that children can engage in to calm themselves or other things like that, and this is just normalizing the masturbation to the children.
See, we put the picture up for a brief moment, a couple of seconds here. I want to read this page because it's you'll get it. Some people think that masturbation is wrong or harmful, and some religious call masturbation a sin. But masturbation cannot hurt you, and it does not result in pregnancy or in getting or passing an infections that are spread through sexual contact. Many people masturbate, many don't. Whether you masturbate or not, it's your choice. Masturbating is perfectly normal. Again, this is anywhere from a 9-year-old to an 11-year-old. I don't really even think that I sexually awakened until I was 13.
Around 13 or so.
About
right.
13 or so. But back in my days too, when I was 13 and 7th and 8th grade, you might have had one girl in there that had breast. But because of the diet and what they're supplementing foods with, I mean, I'm shocked nowadays. You see 13-year-olds now, you'd swear they had a body of an 18-year-old. They're well developed. But it's still, even though they're physically developed, they're emotionally and mentally not developed.
Right.
Yeah,
They're
no.
not.
But
They're not.
it's really sexualizing kids to the sexual pleasure aspect, and or creating women and or themselves as more of an object than what sex is, which is a bonding aspect of a relationship, the final bonding aspect of a relationship. It's not the first aspect of a relationship, the first bonding. Yeah, I mean, you don't meet somebody and say, hey, let's go to bed. I want to see if I really click with you. You kind of create a friendship, you got same interest and stuff. And
But even if and I'll take this, I'm going to take this kind of to the extreme. When I look at this and I read this, about that. It's perfectly normal as far as masturbation, touching yourself, using a soft part of your body, so forth. And that's what it says in the book. That's a method that's employed by pedophiles.
Yeah.
It is. You know, let me touch you, it's okay. You can touch me, it's okay. And again, introducing this, something like this, at such a young age, beyond the confines of the home or the direction of the actual mother or the father. And again, this whole curriculum to me, gender spectrum, I don't believe is a bunch of crap to me. My personal opinion. You know, they're overstepping, and they're stepping into a boundary that has been so tightly held by parents. This is just crazy. This is just this is.
Well, to give you an
crazy.
idea, I was was requested to be in a Veterans Day parade, and we were going down Sepulveda Boulevard, and they had one of the Gentlemen's Club's gigantic billboards up. And I watched the boys all snickering and laughing because of the explicit look on the picture, right? But I watched the girls bow their heads down in shame. In shame. They were ashamed. They were like, oh, God. That was, 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
16-year-olds. And that's I call the normal, natural responses of modesty.
Sure.
Personal modesty of boys are always going to be inquisitive. Like I said, when we were boys, our Dirty Smut magazines we can get our hands on was National Geographic. We could,
right.
We
For
could
the
see
Aborigines.
we could see an Aboriginal's breast. It's like,
Right.
woohoo, that's what it was,
Right.
in our generations, right? You guys are much younger than me. But, that's what we have. They're bringing more explicit stuff to kids, to
Right.
children.
In our classrooms
Yes.
on a daily basis.
So I want to get away from this masturbation page and go to the next picture 7, which is. it's
Oh my
getting
God!
even-
What
it
the
is-
what the hell?
it's getting-
Come on!
Never
What
even,
the
never even saw this in a National Geographic, but
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ!
I'm getting uncomfortable.
Yeah, this is just having the kids explore their bodies, and they
I caught my kid in the bedroom doing this. I mean, what the hell's wrong with you?
Thank you.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So they want it almost seems like they want to lower, like you were saying, the inhibitions that children naturally have.
Right. They want to normalize.
Yeah, and I mean, if you can imagine if you were a girl, or when I was a
When
young
you
girl,
were a
or
girl,
I
what
have
are
a
you
daughter,
now?
I have a daughter who's 14.
You changed.
She would be super embarrassed if she was in a class and they were talking about masturbation,
absolutely.
or they showed this picture,
Yeah.
and she's 14, she's a freshman. And so not every child is interested in sex, not even some of the boys they just are not.
No.
Everyone
No.
develops at a different time
A different pace.
and
right?
a different pace, so to have these types of books, even if they're just in the library, and this is their introduction, so the kids could have this in their backpack. They go home, they go to their room, and this is what they're looking at. You think they're up there reading Little House on the Prairie or something, and they're reading this, and they just have so much knowledge now about sex. And so one of the ways that counselors will know that a child has been abused is they have an abnormal knowledge of sex for their age.
Right.
Yeah.
And now so people will say, oh, the kids can go on the internet, they'll see all this. Well, this is normalizing it when you bring it into school. This is basically saying to the kids, this really is normal. If the teacher is talking about this, if everybody's talking about this, then you start to think to yourself, if you're a child, I'm the only one that thinks this isn't normal, which is what a predator might say.
Right.
Everyone else does this. You're the only one that gets embarrassed by this.
And what's striking about this?
I'm
Because
going to do this. Hold on. One of our former guests,
Uh-huh.
okay, Daniel DeCrisio,
Oh, I remember Daniel. Right.
our flamboyant individual. Hi, Daniel. Daniel, and I'm going to front you out what you're saying. Daniel comes right out and says they don't even know their bodies or thoughts. Sorry, but young kids aren't confident with their bodies, but adults who are experienced are pushing this on children. While I feel that sexually isn't something that should be hidden, should be discussed, but why push it on children until it's time for that discussion? I agree, overstepping. Why should sexuality be a public thing? Men are more into visuals, but a young person cannot process all of this. He's right, Daniel, you're right on the money. I mean, I think that's why both of us are kind of sitting here shocked. But,
Right.
we had discussed, Sandee, you and I over the phone, that it's a conditioning, an indoctrination of a thought process and a physical response mechanisms to your external stimuli.
Right.
And it's the same reason why the military has chosen the age of 18, okay, to bring, kids into the military. Why?
Right.
Try getting you or I in there. I'd be like, hell no, I'm not shooting anybody.
No, of course not.
You want me to hike 20 miles? No, you kiss my backside. I ain't doing that either, So they get 18-year-olds in there because they're all caught up in the games and macho and stuff. And
There's
they
a certain level of maturity.
There's a certain level of immaturity that can be usurped and utilized for their purposes. So you look at this and you say, okay, the Planned Parenthood, the ACLU and the LGBTQ2 plus alphabet community, they're the ones promoting this.
And like
they're the ones. So for what reason? What indoctrination? What is serving their reasons for this?
This is crazy because some of this you can. I'm looking at it, and you can gather what they're saying. It talks about a body fact. They're talking about the hymen. They cover the part of the opening of the vagina while a girl going, or when she is daily active while exercising or enjoying a sport, or sometimes when she first uses a tampon or during the first time she has sexual intercourse, the hymen stretches and may hurt a bit, and the opening becomes somewhat larger. What?
Yeah.
What?
Why?
And
what?
And this is still what age group?
The book is for 10 and up.
10
and
and
you
up.
can see from the drawings that the children, they look about 10.
So that's fourth grade, fifth graders. Fourth and fifth. Think about this, fourth and fifth graders. Now, I've been chastised by so many individuals in the community saying, why don't I grow up and be able to deal with adult material? I can deal with this. Trust me, I can deal with this. But you shoving this on my kid, no, you've got something to deal with me.
No.
On that note, before we go into the next page, we're going to go ahead and pay our bills. So, Sam, advertisement time and breathing. Hi, I want to welcome Rusty Levin and Harry Nabanian, both trial lawyers for workman comp cases. If you're injured on the job, don't hesitate. Contact an attorney. I did when I was wounded or injured on my job, and I thought I would trust my employer, and it didn't work out quite well. So I found Rusty Levin, handled my case like a professional, worked out way better than any other lawyer that I talked to would have worked out. So Rusty, tell us a little bit about your company of Levin and Nabanian Trial Lawyers.
So at our firm at Levin Albania Trial Lawyers, we handle all matters of workers' compensation, personal injury, and employment disputes, wrongful termination matters, and things like that. We were able to help Mr. Reed out with his workers' compensation case. Unfortunately, workers' compensation injury can be very stressful, intense situation. And at Levin Albanian, we try to get you the most benefit we can under the law, while also easing the stress and anxiety that comes along with that situation, and getting you back on your feet. My partner, Mr. Albanian, he handles the personal injury sides, and I'll let him take it from there.
And just like all injured employees out there, anybody else who gets injured as a result of somebody else's negligence has rights, and the rights that they need to protect immediately. And they should do that by calling Levin and Albanian Trial Lawyers and letting us help ease that tension off of you and get you the result you deserve, while also making sure that you get better in the progress. So we're here for you, folks.
Levin and Nabanian Trial Lawyers is the best company for you to get a hold of when you're injured or have a personal injury. So give them a call at
213-232-4848, 213-232-4848. Thank
and
you.
let them handle the stress for you while you recover at home. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Hi, my name is Ted Durden, and I want to take a moment to talk to you about trust, and I trust churchandlaw.com. When it comes to workers' compensation and employment law, you can trust churchandlaw.com. If you ever need legal advice you can rely on, it's churchandlaw.com. Black and white, no gray, churchandlaw.com. 818-230-3110, churchandlaw.com. A law firm you can trust and count on.
Welcome back to the Voice of Reason with Victoria Estrada and Sandee Everett, Ted Durden, and myself, talking about a very serious subject that crosses political boundaries. It's about our children, it's about our community, it's about what's happening in our public schools, of which both Ted and I have actually come to the agreement it's disgusting.
It really truly is.
And it's not a political left or right issue. It's not a conservative issue. It's not a religious issue even. We can put our faith into it. Some of us have put our faith into it. But in reality, this is about human development, about human psychological and emotional abuse. And it dives right into my opinion of assessment of this curriculum as child abuse. And so we go into the next graphic 8, Sam. And this graphic, it's where the teachers in the classroom instruct the boy and a girl to look at each other and say, look at them in the eye. Use their name. So it'd be me and Victoria role playing here. Victoria, I want us to be safe and use a condom. And we're 10 years old.
Yeah. Snack on that.
Okay. I didn't even know what the hell a condom was. I don't even think I knew what being stimulated was. I had no interest in girls. They had boogers and boogies and snotties and everything else. And I didn't even, cooties was the word.
The EBGB.
Yeah, I didn't want to be touched by one, not alone even talk to one at that time of my life. But yet, these educators are doing this. Now you, Victoria, have a disgusting story about a friend of a friend here.
So
That could be telling right in her eyes what the hell your friend's child experienced.
a week ago, in a 7th grade classroom, a schoolmate of my daughter's was embarrassed and asked
That's
to
putting
come.
it lightly.
Yes, humiliated. The girl was traumatized.
Denigrated in a lot of ways, I'm
yes,
sure.
because according to what it was explained, the story happened as I was explained to it. As soon as it happened, we got a call and we got the message about what happened to the little girl. And so she was asked by the teacher to come up, and she didn't want to, but she was pretty much forced to go up to the classroom and demonstrate how to place a condom on a penis. And so,
wait a minute. Was this a banana? Was it
No,
a cucumber?
no,
What was this?
it's their model penis. From
Was
what
it
I
actually
understand.
anatomically correct?
That I can't tell you what it looked like.
Okay.
Because every teacher has their own kit.
So they can bring whatever they want to
A
bring
kit.
in.
A kit. They call it a kit. So
And so she was forced to go up in front of the class and demonstrate how to put a condom on, and she's in the 7th grade.
great.
Seventh
Right.
grade. That's 11.
Seventh
That's
grade.
11
12,
years
yeah,
old.
11, 12
11,
years
12
old.
years
Yeah.
old, right around in there.
And she's probably never held one before. Nothing. Everything's brand, like you said. At that age, what are you doing?
Yeah,
You're
thank you.
not-
Exactly.
I'm still digging holes and playing, Army.
Right. And so she was forced, and she called her mom immediately, and she was devastated. So
Now you just recently went to a school board meeting, and tell us a little bit about what happened in that meeting.
well, I shared with them this story, and I think half of them is what we conjured up with as far as our take on it. Half of them were concerned with that story, but I stated to them that if they're still not sure about this curriculum,
Right.
they should stop teaching this immediately, because this is not okay for you to humiliate a little girl at that age. I mean, I can't even imagine what that's going to do to her. Putting myself back into that age group,
I
in that setting, what that could do to her.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, mind you, everybody, boys and girls look at sexual activity, our bodies, in a different way. Girls, women, young women, and women. I have 9 granddaughters. I have two daughters, 1 son, and I have my wife I've known since I was 11. And I'll tell you something. Sexual activity is physical for a guy, and it's emotional for a woman. So when you take a young woman, not young woman, a girl,
Little
right,
girl,
a child,
a little girl.
a female child, and you devastate them with something like this, it's ripping away that normal emotional growth process.
Well, not just that. You're destroying their innocence. Is what you're
Yes,
doing.
absolutely.
You're eroding the innocence, and it's almost like no one is thinking about the emotional consequences of this particular curriculum is going to have on our children.
Yes.
They're not thinking about that. They're not concerned about that. You know, they're pushing this agenda. They're making it so parents can't opt out, and it puts us all in a very difficult situation. You know, again, to those viewers watching this, you got to get involved. Every parent, every grandparent, every soon-to-be parent needs to get involved because this has to stop. This is crazy.
Yes.
Well, one other thing, I had a friend who said that her son, who was in 7th grade, if he had to turn to a girl in his class and say, look her in the eye and call her by her name and say, I want us to be safe, we need to use a condom, he would probably start crying. She said he could not do it. And so it's not just, I know we're not saying that, but it's not just girls. The boys, it's humiliating. You're turning to some girl that
we don't have interest in that at that age.
No, we don't.
I want to go
we don't.
riding my bike, skateboard around. That's my interest at the time, and I kind of played. I had HO cars and stuff, and I thought I was a normal kid. I didn't have interest in this stuff. It's beyond me.
Well, and I'm sure the same thing would apply if some boy had to do it. They had to demonstrate how you're supposed to put it on. No, I'm just saying it would be the same thing. It's traumatic for the girls. It would be traumatic for the boys as well.
Yeah.
Well, they're teaching them that boys are having sex with boys. So absolutely, boys are going to be doing this.
Oh yeah, no, without a doubt.
part of the requirements.
Right.
Sam, let's go to picture number 9.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, this one is actually a good one to bring up after Victoria's comment because we're showing 3 different types of sex, and this is to make sure that the sex ed is inclusive of all sexual identities. So they're going to show anal sex there in the middle, oral sex at the top, and vaginal sex. And they're going to also, on top of showing what these 3 sexual types are, they're going to show them how to prevent disease. So one of the ways that they're going to show them is something I'd never heard of, which is called a dental dam, because they also talk about oral sex on anus.
What?
So they show them how to make a condom type, using a condom to put it over the anus, and then having oral sex and also vaginal sex or vaginal oral sex using these condoms that they show them. And so this opens up, because the new sex ed has to be inclusive, which we want all of our students to be safe. But where the CDE went with this, California Department of Education went with this, was that means that we need to show all of these different types of sex so that we can show the kids how to be safe, so that if they are doing oral sex on anus, that they make sure that they are safe, whatever that means.
Once again, this is all subject to, this is the base curriculum, and it's all subject to the teacher and how and the way in which they want to discuss it, the way they want to deliver it. So if you happen to have a educator in there, and mind you, most educators are extremely good individuals. The ones who are resisting this curriculum would never really take advantage of the verbal communications between them and a child. However, human beings are human beings. You're going to have perverted individuals in there who may start fantasizing, who may start thinking wrong thoughts, because they're being stimulated, they're being exposed to this as well. So let's move on to the next graphic here on page 9, where this is so detached. When I look at this picture and I actually analyze it, well, first of all, the bedposts look like penises as well.
Right.
I noticed.
Oh.
And the headboard looks like two breasts with
Right.
nipples on it. Then you've
Right.
got the girl laying in bed completely detached on her cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the guy who doesn't even have enough respect to take his hat off when he went in bed. So it's like, what are you telling kids? This is a non-emotional act? Is this just a physical act? I mean, what is the purpose of this style of a
Right.
picture?
So this is really interesting. So last week when I was at the California School Board Association annual conference,
Right?
they platformed the sex ed that has this video. This is a screenshot from a video that they
Wow.
show that is called it's a porn fact or fiction. You can look it up on YouTube. It's a 2-minute video. This is for the kids, by the way. And so it's with the 3 R's, which is rights, respect, responsibility, which is marketed by Advocates for Youth, which is Advocates for Youth is closely affiliated with the ACLU and Planned Parenthood. And both of those two websites, ACLU and Planned Parenthood, both talk about Advocates for Youth on their websites and vice versa. And so when I looked up the Advocates for Youth website, their motto is our bodies, and this is for the kids. So they're teaching kids,
Mm-hmm.
junior high, high school kids, middle school, high school kids to be kind of good soldiers and to really advocate for themselves. Our bodies, our lives, our movement.
Sam, go ahead and pull up graphic 10 here, Julie Mellons. This is just another graphic they utilize. I'm going to go through I'm going to go right past it, not past it, but this is part of the curriculum, part of the
Wow.
sexualization. I'm trying to think of it is they're more of creating women to be more of an object
Right.
than
Sexual
a person.
objects.
It's a sexual object. And it's what the advertisement industry does quite well.
Yes.
Right.
As you turn individuals into sexual objects. But we're going to go right to the next graphic, Sam, graphic number 11, which this graphic here is used at what ages now?
So this would be 7th grade and 9th grade.
7th grade and 9th grade. So 7th grade is 11 and 12-year-olds, and some 13-year-olds that were held back because of birthdays, the time of the birthday. So, in 11 and 12-year-old, in ARC schools, we had separate men and, girls gyms, so we never
Right.
even saw. And I really, the only thing I ever saw was in the National Geographic. I saw boobies. That's about it. So they're subjecting girls to this. So tell us a little bit about this
So
graphic.
one point to make is that they don't want the boys and the girls separated when they have sex ed, and the reason is because there may be some students who don't identify as the gender that they may be put in the wrong class, and so they want them all to be together. And then if you look at this is a very sexualized picture. This is the male version, and then there's a female version. But the prior
Okay, Sam, the next graphic 12,
the
is the
prior
female version of their graphic.
the prior graphic used was more of a medical picture that you would see in a doctor's office. So it showed the internal organs and that, and nothing really sexual
Kind of
about
a
it.
sign of a side
Yes.
cut
Yes,
of the
a
anatomy.
side cut.
Yeah,
So
pretty
you
much.
saw they showed the tubes going this
the
way
blood
and the
vessels and-
inside and all
Yes.
that neat stuff.
So you can imagine if you're a young man or young woman sitting in class, and then this is the picture that
Yeah.
they show, and then they have to label the parts. It doesn't even show the internal organs on the female
So
or the male.
they're getting them now to memorize and identify the individual little parts of the female's anatomy, both the boys and the girls. This is just incredible.
This is insane.
Sam, let's pull up number 13, and this is an extra curriculum or out of school website that they're told to go to, right? Which really is, it doesn't put the emotional aspect of sex. It's all about pleasure. It's all about self-pleasure, self-pleasure. Even with you're another person, it's about self-pleasure. It has nothing to do with the real healthy relationships between men and women and people,
Yeah.
Right.
So I refuse to go watch it. It's kind of like I refuse to ever go watch Brokeback Mountain.
And that's a movie I've never seen. Had no
Yeah,
desire,
no
no desire to see. And what is it?
But don't get me wrong. The LGBTQ community, you have civil rights, you have human rights. I'm not stepping on all of that. I have a lot of friends that are gay. I have a lot of respect for them. I have a lot of love for them as well. It's just this is pushing an emotional, how would you say, an emotional agenda on children they're not prepared for at all. Mm-hmm. They say they're prepared for it only because that's in their mind only. So tell us a little bit about this extracurricular website they were directed to go to.
Okay, and to be fair, there's many gay and lesbian people who don't like this and who don't want anything to do with this and who are very upset that, that this is being pushed.
I know quite a few as well.
But the this one is on the Positive Prevention Plus curriculum. This is a website that the kids are given, and they're told to go on there to get their questions answered. And so this obviously is just one example.
Is it
it's called Sex,
is it interactive in any particular way? Or
I'm not sure if it's interactive. I've watched this one and a couple of other ones. But you can go on there. They can go on and find out all the answers to their questions. So, and this is a video. I'm sure you can just Google it, or not Google it, but look it up on YouTube.
Now, mind you, I didn't find this out. I really didn't get into computers or even the iPhones until later in life. You put in particular keywords, and they use this quite often on some of the sitcoms, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You put in a keyword in the search bar, and you're going to come up with all kinds of amazing, nasty stuff.
Right.
So when you're directing the kids to go in and put these things in the search bar, who in the heck knows what comes up? And then their curiosity, maybe I'm supposed to watch this one. It's a full-on porn.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You don't know. And then, the porn's safe because you have to click on a thing that says I'm over 18.
And we all know that nobody ever clicks the wrong button.
Right. If you want to watch it, you're going to put I'm 18, right? So it's really subjecting them to the internet, the dark sides of the internet.
Yes.
And they're also promoting, because Sam, don't put the next graphic up yet, but the next graphic, it gets into the promotion of the separation of parental influence and parental rights, which to me is really shockingly horrific.
Yes.
Because this starts off in 7th grade. Sam, go ahead and pull up the graphic 14 for us, please. And I'm going to read this here, the whole page, because everybody that sees it is only going to see it for a moment. And unfortunately, our children have to see this forever. When someone is faced with an unintentional pregnancy, they have the option of terminating the pregnancy through an abortion. A pregnant person, including minors, can access abortion legally for any reason until approximately 24 weeks after the last menstrual period. After that, if the pregnancy puts the person's health or life at risk, the person still can legally access abortion. A pregnancy can be terminated through medication up to 10 weeks after the last menstrual period, or through a procedure to empty the uterus starting from early in the pregnancy. 2/3 of abortions take place at 8 weeks of pregnancy or earlier. 89% of abortions take place in the first 12 weeks of pregnancy. Abortion is a very safe procedure, and major complications occurring less than 1/4% of the time. Now, they very accurately described an abortion, right? They accurately described it. It's a simple kind of thing. I think the complications are probably a little higher. The emotional aspects are a little more devastating to most than it's saying here. But the part that shocks the living tarnations out of me completely is, first of all, the age group, 12-year-olds. Mm-hmm. And then it says in bold writing that the kids get to read. In California, minors of any age can access abortion without parental notification or consent. Let me read that again. Minors of any age And they're teaching this to 12-year-olds. So they're saying it's okay to have sex because you don't have to tell your parents.
Right.
And you don't have to tell your parents if you happen to get pregnant. Can access abortion without parental notification or consent. As with any other medical care, it is every patient's right, every 12-year-old's right, up, as young as you can, right, get pregnant. Some children, females, have started menstrual cycles at 11 years old. And younger, I think there's cases, but there's average. There's a high percentage at 11, 12, 13 is probably average. Okay, so it's as with any medical care, it is every patient's right to receive accurate information so they can provide informed consent prior to an abortion. I can't have alcohol till I'm 21. I can't buy a gun until I'm 21. I can join the military at 18 years old and go kill people with guns. And now they're telling children at 12-year-olds you can have sex at 12 years old. And if you happen to get pregnant, you don't have to tell your parents. You don't have to get consent from your parents. All you have to do is tell your teacher, and your teacher will drive you down to the local Planned Parenthood, and you can have an abortion and be isolated from the entire community, your entire family, yourself even. This is disgusting. This is actually disgusting to me right here, leading all the way up to this page here. Everything else is kind of, we can laugh about it. We can get, ha, 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 because we get nervous, we're ashamed, we're embarrassed. This right here is a complete usurping of parental rights, parental's care of their children, whether it to be of traditional beliefs, whether it to be of spiritual beliefs, whether it to be non-spiritual beliefs, non-traditional beliefs. This is taking your child and subjecting them to some dangerous ass procedure, okay, of people who could not care. All they care about is the money that they're getting from it. I've done my rant. You can have a minute.
Give me a second here.
You can have a minute because we have one more page that we're going to put up. We have an action page that we want to put up.
Here's my thing. Number one, I never believed in abortion as a method of birth control. I never have been. I'm a conservative Southern Democrat. That's the cloth from which I've cut. I've never supported a child making such a life-altering decision. It is nothing that any child should ever endure alone. And the fact that there is a law in California that gives a child the ability to do this without talking to a parent, without parent involvement whatsoever, and again, I keep going back to it.
Ted, you're giving a cookbook for a pedophile to sit there and have sex with a kid, separate the kid from the parent, and then take the kid down to a damn abortion clinic and get an abortion. You've now separated that child from the only authority they have, the only trust factor they have. I get emotional about this because it really pisses me off.
It's absolutely insane.
It's insane. No, this is creating an atmosphere that's. Let's.
I know we don't have much time.
Victoria told me a story of a recent.
A month ago, a young girl experienced this. She didn't tell her mom, and a couple weeks after she received the abortion, she shared it with her mom in tears. And from my understanding, is they haven't stopped crying for weeks.
Yeah, I can imagine because your child, your home, your entire self has been invaded. It's like being equivalent to rape. It's like you've been raped of all of your dignity, of all of your essence of life as a family and everything.
What due to her body
exactly at such a young age?
What does it do to a father that wants to protect their daughter, that you have school administrators or you have people that are willing to take your child, get them pregnant, and take them to a clinic to get rid of it and hide it?
Yes.
We have an action sheet. Sam, please bring up the last graphic. This last graphic, hold it up for a little while longer, Sam. So that way, this is 5 steps to protect your child's body and innocence. Talk to your teachers, number 1. Review all materials for sex ed and health ed, textbooks, PowerPoints, videos, websites, kits. Opt out. The website is on this sheet. You can stop this and freeze frame it and write it all down. Write an email or a letter and call the school board members, your local superintendents, your California Department of Education, local officials. To find your California officials, go to find your rep, .legislature.gov, .california.gov. Tell them that you that you support parental rights. Parental rights. Sign online petition SB 673. We're going to have to close out this episode. I really want to thank both of you for returning. This is a tough subject for a grandfather of 9 granddaughters. I'll smack my grandson upside the head if he does any of this crap. But my 9 granddaughters and my 2 daughters who have gone through life and have experienced some of this stuff. Some of my older granddaughters right now are experiencing some of these things, and you wonder where your kids come home with some ideas. This is where they're getting this garbage from.
Yes.
But thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you
back
for having
again.
us.
This is an
Exposing the
extreme.
truth. Yes.
Thank you. More than that. Ted, let's roll it up. Thank you for everybody for tuning in on this episode. And we look forward to seeing you next week at 7 o'clock on Thursday. Bring it home, Ted.
And I think with the subject matter that we discussed this evening, I think my tagline is most relevant. Ignorance prevails when rational minds sit back and do nothing. Be sure to tune in next week. Thank you.
You're listening to The Voice of Reason with Mark Reed and Ted Durden, only on LA Talk Radio.